Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome. We are a couple minutes here from another attempt at Speaker of the House. It's officially the fourth round of voting. Although we know there's been more than that behind closed doors. The candidate is Representative Johnson from Louisiana. He seems to be pretty solid on the America First, but I don't know a lot about him. I've seen him around, that kind of thing, but I honestly don't know a ton about this guy. So, let's see. Thought I was sharing that, but I guess I wasn't.
For what
There we
purpose
go.
does the gentleman from Illinois rise?
Mr. Speaker,
So we're just getting
pursuant
started.
to Clause 7 of Rule 20, I move a call of the House.
Under Clause 7B of Rule 20, the chair confers recognition for that purpose. Without objection, a call of the House is ordered. Members will record their presence by electronic device.
So allegedly, they have moved out all of the furniture out of McCarthy's office, and they're pretty.
And so it begins.
Pretty good that this is
first
gonna.
of all, the establishment of a quorum, getting all the members that are supposed.
So there's a pretty good chance that this one's going to pass, and Johnson's going to be the new Speaker of the House. So that's interesting. A lot of the pundits are saying that it's a sure thing, blah blah blah. So that means it will probably fail, crash and burn miserably, as we know. But we're going to be here to watch it all. So let's say hello and we'll get right into it. Digger, hello. What's up, Bri? Exactly. You guys, did you send me messages? Sorry, I've been back and forth and not paying attention. What's up, Brando? Good morning, Scad. I got your email. I just haven't got a chance to get back with you, but I will. Someone did a System of a Down made rock lobster. I could see that could be enjoyable. Captain Flat, hello. Well, then they couldn't drag it out and be dramatic about it. See, they're just basic bitches, and they have to be dramatic about everything. So, yeah. This one looks pretty good. Found an interview that they were. So this is his House freshman profile from C-SPAN. So this is Mike Johnson, and I figured while we're waiting, I'm waiting for them to decide whether or not they're here. We'll watch this instead, and I'll let you know if anything crazy happens on the other one.
Representative Mike Johnson of Louisiana talked to C-SPAN about being a new member of Congress, his family, and community in Louisiana's 4th Congressional District, and also who he looks to for advice and mentorship.
Plus, it's PBS style, so you know it's credible.
We're talking with Representative Mike Johnson, who serves the state of Louisiana, the 4th District, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how you got to this position.
Well, my background is in constitutional law, so for about 20 years I did litigation in the courts. Public interest law firms are what I worked for, so I did religious liberty litigation, those kinds of things. Served in the Louisiana legislature for a short term, just a little under 2 years. Filled an unexpired term, then was elected to a full term, but never got a chance to serve it out because this seat became open when the predecessor ran for the U.S. Senate. And we jumped in, and it turned out well. We wound up with the largest winning percentage in 50 years in my district, and so we're just really blessed and privileged to be here.
Tell us a little bit about what made you decide to get into this race. What was the ultimate deciding factor?
Well, I'm the father of 4 children under the age of 16, and my wife and I have invested all of our adult lives in trying to make a better opportunity for them, as all parents do. And I come from the state of Louisiana. It's in relative terms a poor state, or one of the less well off. Let's say that, least well off. And so there's a lot of concerns in my district. I represent 15 parishes or counties in Louisiana. It's 760,000 people, and there's a lot of cultural differences along that big area, geographic area, but their concerns are the same, and that's the common concerns about the jobs in the economy. We need more opportunity for economic mobility to broaden the pathway out of poverty for more people and create new really opportunities for everyone. The American dream should still be within our grasp, but it hasn't been in recent years. National security and the threat of terrorism and all these things are sort of universal concerns. And so we looked at that, felt like we had something to offer, and so we put ourselves out there, and the people sent us here to do that good work.
What is the difference between serving as a state representative and what you experience here serving in Washington, D.C.?
There's a lot of similarities, but people say, what's the most surprising thing about serving in Congress? And to be honest, people are surprised to hear this back home when I say it, but it's the level of collegiality that you find amongst the colleagues here. And it's not just within the various conferences, but even across the aisle. So in our freshman class, for example, it's been a great experience. There's 55 of us that came in together, and we've all just worked really well together. We've developed some real friendships, and there's a common sense of unity over overarching purposes.
I believe he came into Congress in 2007,
and raise the level of civility.
2007.
And so I drafted a document called Commitment to Civility, and 53 out of 55 freshman members signed on to that. We literally made a contract with one another that we would raise the level of decorum around here and treat one another with dignity and respect. And even when we disagree, do it in an agreeable fashion, because I think that sets an important example.
That National Day of Civility, how did it play out amongst those who've been here for a while, maybe leadership? What was the reaction?
Well, everybody's gotten behind it. We're in a different era now. After the shooting, tragically, a few weeks back, Steve Scalise, of course, is from my home state of Louisiana, been a dear friend of mine for over 20 years. That got everybody's attention. And you saw even in national media over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of discussion about this sort of general lamentation that people have that the level of discourse here is ultimately leading to violence now. And large majorities of the American people, I think over 3/4 of the American people now, believe that that's true. And so there's a recognition that we have to change that. And it's been really gratifying and encouraging to see people from different parties, different political ideas and persuasions, agreeing on the idea that we need to do this better. I think that's what the founders envisioned and intended. And that level of statesmanship that we used to regard and respect in this country, I think we can get back to that, and it'll do a great service to everyone.
So ultimately, though, even aside from the unity that you want to pursue, you want to make an impact as an individual. As a freshman particularly, how do you go about doing that?
Well, you put your head down and you get your work done. I think there's an opportunity for everyone in an environment like this who's serious about making necessary reforms. We recognize we've got serious challenges in this country. We're the most free, most prosperous, most successful nation in the history of the planet, and yet we have these tremendous challenges in front of us. So those who are willing to roll up their sleeves, put in the work. I was in this office last night until working about 12:45 last night. Got up at 5:30 this morning. That's what it requires to do the job right and to do it well. And I think those who are willing to do that can make an impact. And we're seeing that.
How do you keep yourself centered while you're here, away from the day-to-day work that you have to do?
You keep perspective, and you remember why you came here and who you represent. And that's a motivating factor to know that these tremendous challenges that we're facing, that we're offering real solutions, and we're doing it on behalf of the people who don't have always a voice. We are their voice, in effect. When I go home on the breaks, I do town halls. We did 3 over the July 4th recess and many meetings around the district to be in front of the people that we represent and to remember these are real struggles that we're having on the ground level back home, and we have an opportunity, a historic opportunity, to fix some of those things, and that's what keeps you going. That's the motivation, the fuel. It doesn't really feel like hard work sometimes, even though it is, because we know that there's such a tremendous impact that can be made, and that's what keeps you going.
When you're here, since you've been here, who have you looked to as a role model? Who have you reached out to learn things, or at least get some, shorthand as far as how things work here?
We're really blessed in the Republican conference. Those in leadership are very accessible. One of the best things I do, I tell the people back home, is I'm one of those guys that lives in my office, right? So in the morning, we all meet up in the gym. That's where the showers are and where all the real action takes place, because there's no staff, no media there. It's just members. And you can approach leadership or anyone there and talk about policy, talk about ideas, and it's a great thing. And it's bipartisan in the gym too, so you get to form your relationships with folks, and that's been great. There's so many people who
real business takes place in the showers.
In helping them here first. Helping. I mean, this morning I had a breakfast with Doug Collins, a more senior member from Georgia, and he's one in particular who's just been really great about reaching out and trying to help us learn the ropes, and it's made us all more effective, and we're really grateful for that.
Before the incident, did Mr. Scalise offer any advice to you?
Constantly. I mean, he's been a great friend, advisor of mine since we were in college at LSU. He was several years ahead of me. And so we've known each other a long time, been in a lot of foxholes together, and he's always been one of my great advisors, and he's very generous with his time that way. And I'm not unique, because so many people have said that about the whip, and that's just who he is as a person, and it's a great credit to him that he's so well respected for that.
What's the best piece of advice he's given you?
Well, he said, be careful about your early alliances that you make, right? That you need to assess the whole scope and the whole situation before you get marginalized or labeled in any way. And that's been some key advice. You want to be regarded in Congress as one who is level-headed and someone who will evaluate everything on its merits, and not just stake out a position in a corner somewhere. And we've been very deliberate about doing that, and I think that's what the voters back home expect.
You mentioned your family. Tell us about them.
Yeah, I've been married to my wife Kelly for about 19 years now. We got 4 children, and we're just really blessed that they're back home, and so I commute, do the thing on the weekends and the precious few days off that we have. I'm blessed that my family is really into this. They see it as a calling, as I do, and so families have to be pretty long suffering in this in a role like this. But they are, and God's been gracious to us to cover our bases. So I'm a blessed man. Is it difficult to keep connection with them on the day-to-day things that family have to go through? It's hard to miss baseball games and practices, that kind of thing. But we use FaceTime. Technology is great, because I see my children virtually every night before they go to bed, and talk to them and catch up with their day, and that makes a difference. I mean, it is great to get home and open the front door and have the 6-year-old run up and "Daddy," and then they all come up in turn and do that, and it allows you to keep perspective and remember why we're doing all this. I'm doing this job for them and all of our children and grandchildren, so that they have the same opportunity, the same country that we have all appreciated and enjoyed. And I think my kids, in their own way, they understand that, and they're really into what we're doing. As far as committees, what committees do you serve on? What do you hope to bring to them? So I was put on judiciary because of my background in constitutional law, I think, and that's a great committee because it has such broad jurisdiction over so many things affecting our country. I mean, everything from criminal law to the maintaining of our civil rights and constitutional rights, and all the way everything to border security, immigration, our criminal justice system. Lots of authority there, and so it's an important committee. I'm grateful to be there, and I'm on some of those important subcommittees there dealing with those big hot button issues, and then natural resources, which is really important for our state of Louisiana. And I was really grateful to get a vice chairmanship there of the oversight committee, and we were doing some really important work there. So those are key positions for our state, and we've been grateful for those assignments. Finally, how is the po' boy gumbo market here in the Washington, D.C. metro area? Well, it's not Louisiana, okay? There's lots of things that masquerade as Cajun food that really are not. But we get home enough to get the real taste of the real stuff. And, we do Washington, D.C. Mardi Gras here every year and draw thousands of people who come to get to sample the real stuff. So we got a taste of Louisiana here on the Hill. Representative Mike Johnson, who serves the state of Louisiana. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your time.
Okay, so he might bore you to death, but he doesn't seem like he's, yeah, I don't know. Take it for what you will. Stingy, screw you, dude. Screw you. That's all I have to say. Because that actually sounds like a decent song, but it's very weird. So we'll go back to the floor.
I think that this whole
We're no closer to
speaker
them figuring out
debacle
if
is
they're there.
absolutely insane. Mike Johnson, it's kind of
Still have
ironic that
181 people who
Republicans are
haven't
gonna vote
decided
for him
with
now when
1
they didn't
minute
want to vote for
remaining
Jim
on the
Jordan.
clock.
He's the same person. I mean, he voted to decertify the election. He was part of the amicus brief to decertify the election. They're just going with whatever Trump wants, and that's not what they should be doing. I think that that's absolutely insane, and I think that Republicans need to go back and find.
Oh, shut up, guy from Missouri. I don't want to listen to him, so we'll just wait 5 seconds. No. So anyways, I think it's interesting that all their work gets done in the showers. Could you imagine? It's probably a co-ed shower, so like after getting your sweat on, Nancy Pelosi and gross. I can't even do it. But anyways, yeah, so I don't know. I think he's an interesting character. He's been fairly supportive of MAGA and that kind of movement, the America First type. So could be a positive. I don't exactly know what to think yet of him. So we'll see. He seems like he has the nomination. He seems like he's secured the votes. And unless something crazy happens or somebody wants to continue to play games, we should have a speaker today. At least that's what it's looking like. So he's from Louisiana, so it's a conservative area. He said he has Steve Scalise, so kind of could be in one of those molds, but he seems, from what I was looking into him, to be much more central. So not exactly the Steve Scalise, not exactly the Matt Gaetz, but more reasonable and central. So hopefully he's a good one, and hopefully it makes a difference, and hopefully we're done with this speaker vote shit. All right, so time's expired. There are 150 members that have not voted, whether or not they're here. They should all be fired immediately. I'll be fired immediately. Your time's up. See ya. Why do we have to wait another half an hour for them to figure out if they're here or not? It's mind-blowing. And you want people to take you seriously, and you do shit like this. It's mind-blowing. So. But we'll sit here and we'll continue to wait for them. I'll turn back on the call-ins.
Dozens of indictments. This should turn out great. I'm excited for the vote. I'm going to watch it like sports.
Okay, that's Brandon in New Jersey. Chad Pergram reporting for Fox News, saying that
He's
Speaker
gonna watch
nominee
like sports
Johnson
ball.
writing a Dear Colleague letter, plan to fund the government past November 17th. It would fund the government on an interim basis with a CR, which would expire either on January 15th or April 15th. And that's based on the consensus of a working group. He sent that out on his X feed if you want to read it there. Victoria in Virginia, Republican line.
Okay, that doesn't make me happy because one of his selling points is he was not for continuing resolutions and actually fixing
we can
shit.
all agree, Republicans and Democrats, to vote somebody in that's going to work for the people. And I also just wanted to say, everybody go watch the Shipwreck Show on YouTube.
Not yet.
In California, independent line. Sid, hello.
Oh, hi there. Sorry, I did not know I was online. So 3 things. I'm a frustrated Gen Z voter who's just fed up with the Republican Party at this point. I'll just be voting Democratic down ballot.
No shit.
Wait, are you a Democrat or are you an independent?
I'm a Democratic leaning independent. I'm hoping
I don't buy it.
speakership will finish up. I think Katie Porter should be president in 2028. and I want C-SPAN viewers to subscribe to Let's Talk Elections.
Okay, let's go to Glenda in Kansas City. Democrats line. Hi.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say that really looking at this Republican Party is nothing like someone my stepfather would have voted for. He was a straight ticket Republican, even though I'm a Democrat mostly. I have split my ticket in the past. This is disgraceful, and I am just disappointed that they can't come up with somebody who can at least agree that the election was not stolen. You know,
the election was stolen, you
stepfather
dumb
would refer
bitch.
to them as 000 for allowing Trump to dictate the terms of who can be Speaker of the
Trump
House
is the
to them.
leader of
And I'm
the
referring to
party.
Tom
He's
Emmer.
still the leader of the
Maybe I should
Republican
say
Party.
666. And
Of
thank you for
course.
taking my call.
Of
Olivia
course he
Beavers,
gets
the reporter,
influenced.
says
He's
that
the leader of
as
the
of this
party
morning, it was
until
Representative Johnson on the cusp of grabbing that speaker's handle. He flipped 3 present votes in his favor, and no House Republicans have publicly come forward against him, nor did any of the House GOP internal meeting yesterday as well. So that's the state of play as we wait for the nomination process to begin, with 84 members still to complete this call of the House. Again, after that, nominating speeches. Then after that, people will cast their votes.
I think this is important, though. I really do. This is
Bruce is on our Republican
this is what
line in
the
Michigan.
American people are thinking.
Oscar, hello.
Allegedly.
Hi, it's Oscar, and thank you. We are living in unprecedented times. We are in deep trouble as a country. And for anybody that's pushing back against this not being the normal status quo process, shame on you. I think we need to go through and elect constitutional conservatives for the Republican conference. And I think it is great that the Republicans are challenging each other to find the right person and not just going with the DC status quo, corrupt, lobby-driven business as usual. And I would challenge everybody to look at it from that way. Thank you.
We'll hear next from Lillian. Lillian in Pennsylvania. Hi there. Independent line.
Hello.
Hi.
Still
Hello.
74
Thank
people.
you for taking my call. First time
Oh,
caller,
shit.
long time viewer. Yes,
She's gonna say
I'm an
she's gonna drop a
independent,
racial
severe
slur.
independent, as Romney would say. I am disappointed in the Democrats wasting their votes instead of being the adults in the room. We've known for a while that the Republicans were in great disarray. It's not the old Republican Party. It's a
This lady's
Trump
100% going to drop her
Republican
racism.
Party now. And the Democrats keep voting for the same person, Jeffries, and he's not going to get it. They should have. They should be doing better than that and really going across the aisle and supporting someone who is in the middle. I see problems with both sides, and I agree with some of the things that the Republicans espouse and some of the things that the Democrats espouse, but mostly the Democrats in general at this point. So Democrats.
Well, sometimes when there's actual kids in the room.
And reach
You know what I
across
mean?
the aisle. Don't
Allegedly.
wait for an RSVP from the Republicans. You're not going to get an invitation from the Republicans. Take it upon yourselves. Think country before you think party.
Okay, that's Lillian there in Pennsylvania. Let's take you back in time to 2017 when freshman House member Mike Johnson did an interview with C-SPAN talking about a variety of topics, including
fuck
how
you,
he
C-SPAN.
viewed
I already
the
did
importance
that.
of civility and decorum.
Jesus, these people are worthless. I already played that interview. C-SPAN. Morons. Hang on. One thing I wish I could do is type and talk. God, my life would be my coverage would increase dramatically if I could type and talk, but it's just not possible. I'm trying to look for some counter clip. I get 17 athletes, also named Mike Johnson. All right. Let's see if we can find anything. Well, we can see what Trump has to say about it, since he is the leader of the party, and that's kind of how that works.
But I think Mike Johnson is doing very well. He's a tremendous congressman, respected by everybody. I hear it looks like it's really good. I haven't had one negative comment about him. Everybody likes him. He's just respected by all, and that's something we need. And it looks like that's going to happen. So that'll be a wonderful thing. I put out a truth today on him, and they did one last night. You saw that. We could get somebody that's going to be really spectacular, and maybe for many years to come, he'll be very good. So we're very happy about that. On the trial here, it's going very well. This is a Biden witch hunt deal. It all comes out of the DOJ. It's to interfere with the election. Our company has turned out to be much stronger than anyone even thought. The financial statements are much lower than the actual numbers. The actual numbers are much higher. We're in the process of proving that. We already have proved it. They had Mar-a-Lago.
Okay, I think he's just going to keep talking about himself. So we got a little bit about Johnson.
So I don't think anything's going to improve until we see more independent members on the floor. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to the vote this afternoon.
Alex in Phoenix, Arizona, Republican line.
Yeah, I think Johnson will make a great speaker. I think everyone should look up what subversion is, and Epstein didn't hang himself.
From Todd
Sweet.
in
I'll watch.
Chattanooga, Democrats line.
I think this whole process has just shown that the Republican Party is out of step with the majority of all Americans when they're only concerned about finding somebody that didn't want
Nazi
the election,
fags.
thought the election was
That word?
stolen, and they're against same-sex marriage, and they're just out of step with everything with
Or was it?
the majority of all Americans. And the whole thing that Trump has to approve who they're going to vote, that's just ridiculous.
Oh.
I mean, he is a criminal. He has got, indictments against him. He's got charges against him. He's already been proven to be a sexual assault To me, it's all ridiculous. And it just proves that the Republican Party right
That
now
one.
is not the old Republican Party. So they kicked Liz Cheney out. They proved that they are not the old Republican Party. She was a true conservative. She stood up to him. She stood up to Trump. And they ought to be ashamed of the press conference last night when someone asked the question about the election and that denial. And Representative Fox from North Carolina told them to shut up.
Okay. Again, you can see that on our website and the app, too. It's the Human Events' John Gizzi reporting that Representatives Massey, the Republican of Kentucky, Amidala of Nevada, and Hill of Arkansas, there were 3 who voted present in the last vote of the conference, all said this morning they're going to vote for Mike Johnson for Speaker. If that's the case, he's got the magic 217 number and is expected to win the Speaker's gavel on the floor today. Again, that's a prediction right now until the actual votes are cast and everything is done. From Arkansas, Republican line, this is Jackson. Hello.
Hey, how are you doing? I think that a lot can be said about what this election interference persona that Mike Johnson and a lot of the Republicans in the House have is spoon-fed crap. I think that the American people need to do their own research, create your own opinions, and make your own observations instead of listening to your representatives who have obviously based opinions. You know, these are the same people who believe that Trump indictments are real and, you know, not election interference committed by our president, which is just horrific.
So what's your own opinion of Representative Johnson then?
I think he's going to be a great speaker. I think people want to paint him as extreme because of his opinion on the 2020 election. And I think that's false. I think he's very conservative, but I don't think he's far right. You know, I think one other thing I want to point out just while I have the time, I think any Republicans that are leaving the party because of this charade that the Republicans are putting on in the House, I think they don't have conservative values. I think rather they care about throwing a tantrum almost because the government is governing amongst themselves. You know.
Jim is next in Dallas, Texas, independent line. Hi.
Why'd they have to cut him
Yes,
off?
sir.
He wasn't
Thank
saying
you.
anything ridiculous.
You've cut people off about not talking about Speaker of the House. I can't believe you let that Tennessee guy go. The last few weeks, though, have been very challenging, but in my opinion, awesome. The blessing to us is it has given us a chance to see who is and who is not for we the people. Not casting any aspersions because I'm independent, but walking in total lockstep is not we the people. Hopefully soon we will now have a Speaker of the House and we get on with the people's business and not just the individual congressman's business.
So what's your assessment of Representative Johnson himself?
I think that he's going to be awesome. And
Why
I think
is that?
I think he's going to be awesome and he's going to be fair because of some of the things that people have said just before you took my call. Let's see the evidence. It's not been shown to us. Let's see the 14,000 hours of tape of January 6th. Let's see what really happened.
Well,
And
going
then
back
we'll
to
decide.
Representative Johnson himself, you said he was going to be awesome. Specifically, why?
Because you played his tape of 2017 and it wants to have civility in the House and they signed this deal. I would suspect right now, if you got him off to the side, he'd go, it's not as civil as I thought it was when he first got in there. But he still maintained his civility.
Okay, let's go to Margaret. Margaret in California, Democrats line. Hi.
Hello. I'm calling about Johnson. And he's an election denier.
Oh, he's a dangerous racist? Are we going to get that?
President Biden, and he wants no money for Ukraine. So I don't see why people want the Democrats to help elect him.
No money for Ukraine, the humanity.
Crazy. So those are my thoughts. Thank
Okay,
you.
that's Margaret in California. If you look at the tally, 9 people, 4 Republicans, 5 Democrats yet to finish the call of the House, so to speak, as that's the beginning process of the nominating and election of a new House Speaker. Again, from the reporting we've seen and
no money for Ukraine.
people we've talked to this morning and afternoon, it looks like a good
another
path
$100
for Representative
trillion.
Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana, possibly set
Mike
to become
Johnson
the
did
next
vote for the
Speaker of
first
House
funding
3
bill
weeks
for
after,
Ukraine, but has
the former
voted no
Speaker of the
on
House, Kevin
all
McCarthy, was
subsequent
ousted
bills.
from his
So
position.
I think that's a reasonable
John
position
in
to
West
have.
Virginia, Republican line. Hi.
Hey, how we doing? I'm Carl. I've been watching this for the last couple of weeks, and it's exciting just watching the process. And I'm a Republican living in Huntington, West Virginia, and I think it's fantastic what's going on, and I think Mike Johnson is going to be a great candidate, and I hope he gets it through first go.
Why do you think he's going to be a great candidate?
Well, he's a attorney, so he knows the law, and we've seen in the past he's worked with other groups and things like that, and I think that's good. He's a conservative, and I like that. I'm a conservative, and I just think he'll work great with the people.
Okay, that's John there in West Virginia. This is Steve. Steve in Alabama, independent line.
Yes, sir. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to chime in a little bit. I love being an independent because then you can really see the circus that's going around some of these MAGA Democrats and MAGA Republicans, because our mind
MAGA
is not already
Democrat?
made up for us on having to vote a specific party. But one good thing I heard you
Fuck is a
chime
MAGA
in on
Democrat?
is one good thing about Justin is his age. Okay, at least he's not a 60, 70-year-old person yet in the office. But, like the other caller said, look, this isn't yesteryear's Republicans, but the Democrats are by far yesteryear's Democrats. So therefore, more people do need to become
That's very
independent and
confusing.
learn how to think and do research for yourself before
Hey, Linda.
having,
All indications
any
are that
certain political party
they're going
telling you how
to.
to vote.
So
Okay, down to 6 members right now to finish off this.
we're just
call in the
waiting
House,
on
one
5
lone
Democrats
Republican,
to show up for work.
and 5 Democrats still waiting before the process can begin. Marianne in North Carolina, Democrats.
And probably
line,
one Republican.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm calling about the speaker. I do my research, as the last caller alluded to, and I just looked at his votes and Johnson. I also want to mention that's so important that we seem to be missing from this conversation is that he's second in line to become the president. So all of this discussion of his lack of leadership.
He's third, so that shows your fucking research,
did he
you
get
dumbass.
elected, become a congressman in 2017, as I'm hearing?
He was a freshman in 2017, yes.
2017, not
Correct. So
2007.
He has
Sorry.
very little experience in government, and he's literally 2 heartbeats away from the presidency. The fact that he was an election denier doesn't make him a conservative. I voted Republican in the past, obviously never again. And this process is also very bad for our country.
If I may ask, what did you learn from looking at his votes?
What I learned is that he voted against aid for Ukraine, which will make us less safe.
Oh, the humanity.
He also voted against, declaring the election valid, which is a problem because I voted for Biden, and 81 million of us
No
did.
shit.
We didn't rally.
No, they
we
didn't.
didn't wear hats, but we voted. So his record as what they say is a conservative isn't kind of a like a Reagan conservative. He voted with raising the debt, $7 trillion, because of tax cuts for billionaires and corporations.
Supposedly, this is
I don't see how that's conservative.
an independent that was a conservative.
There in North Carolina, the Melanie Zanona of CNN reporting that Mike Johnson, the speaker designee, will be nominated by the conference chair of the Republicans, Elise Stefanik of New York. That will supposedly take place on the floor, according to sources given to CNN.
It was pretty much
Mark
CNN
is next.
on the
Mark
phone.
in Ohio, Republican line.
Probably a CNN anchor.
I am a conservative, have been one, and I noticed, I think Mike Johnson is going to be a great addition. He wants everyone to act civil because I've watched the decline of everything since we had Donald Trump come in office when the media bashed him. And I don't like that there's propaganda. And I think Mike Johnson, he reached across the aisle because he's an attorney. Who cares if he's young? He's smart. I think he's going to be great. We have it's a uniparty now. These Democrats can go on speakers and bash and raise fury against justices in the Supreme Court, and they don't get hammered. And these Democrats are radical. They need to be.
Well, what gives you evidence that Representative Johnson's going to reach across the aisle?
Because he said he wanted calmness and respect amongst the Democrats, and they disrespect everybody from justices in the Supreme Court and everything. They're so radical. You had Schumer calling for radicalness at a speech against the justice in the Supreme Court.
Okay. Not our topic, but we'll go to Heidi in Massachusetts, independent line.
Hi, as more of a centrist-leaning or Democrat-leaning centrist, I believe that the Democrats don't really have a chance of winning any of the speaker votes. So I'm a little confused I think a lot of the Democrats in America feel the same way as I do, and I think a lot of the centrists do too, that there's not really much of a chance for the Democrats to win. So I think there's a lot of people in both the House and in
There isn't a
America
chance
who don't
because
really
the
have a choice for
Republicans
speaker, and they don't really have a choice for anybody in the
No,
House
there
to
should
win
never be a
because
chance. Because
there
we have
isn't anybody
majority.
ideal
Elections
for
have
people who aren't
consequences.
Republican because
Deal with
the
it.
Democrats have no chance of winning, and Democrats and centrists don't want a Republican speaker.
You don't get a choice.
Democrats line from Ohio. Marianne, hi.
Oh my God.
Hi, I'm just
We're Democrats. We're the minority, but we still want all the power and all the positions because we're Democrats and we deserve it.
As the woman
Because my
prior
fifis.
to that gentleman, this Johnson fella.
Please
has
start
denied
teaching civics. If you
results.
have children,
And he also
the school's not going
has
to teach civics. You
openly
probably
said
don't want them
he
to.
will keep the
So
office
do it your damn
of
self.
the
Please. Please
of the
teach
party
civics.
closed. So those two votes, when they show him on a map, he has no problem in closing and keeping the speaker's job closed, and he is also a denier. And the Republicans, this is all chess for them.
Exactly.
And all they're trying to do is
Exactly.
back to the left and back to the
Exactly.
right when the right person
It is
only
embarrassing.
5 votes shy, and that is Hakeem. And all I could say is that I wish that people would start thinking of the public and America
Uniparty.
and
Yeah.
not party.
Why would you
everyone to
expect
say-
Republicans to support the House Minority Leader?
We need them to start thinking about people, not party. So you have to pick a Democrat because party doesn't matter.
Absolutely attached to the other person that has no play in this, and yet and is under indictment. And the bottom line is it took we're only 5 votes away, and I know that.
Donald Trump does matter. He's still the leader of the Republican Party until there's a new candidate. That's how our political system works. That's how it will always work.
So
Donald
if
Trump
somebody
does
has given
matter.
a job to a person in their office and they choose to do it the way they want,
He's
and
not nominated
and
in
they're not doing
2020,
anything that the
then he
people
doesn't
want
matter
for that
anymore.
job.
But as the leader of
You
the
have to
party,
just
Donald
bump
Trump
them away
still
until
matters.
Other things get better. But right now, this is a mockery going on, and every single Republican has denied additional help for Ukraine when Ukraine is against our biggest ally and in the pocket and the best friend of everybody who's denying that Joe Biden was our president.
Okay, let's go to Steve in Missouri, Republican line.
Yes, thank you for taking my call.
Listening to these people every
regarding
time
Mike, I
just
think he's gonna be
reminds me
great.
of one
He's
thing,
gonna
that
bring
we're
back
beyond
decorum
doomed and
to discussions. It's okay to be
just
to
burn it all
disagree on
down.
things.
It's the
not
best.
okay to
Kill it with fire.
be disagreeable in the process of it. And right now, there's been a lot of that going on. The other thing I've noticed in a lot of the callers coming in, they think that this is a mockery, this process. This is the way the founding fathers built this and designed it. And you got to remember, the average constitution lasts only 17 years across the world. Ours has lasted over 200 years. And that means a lot. That means it's been built correctly. And so this process, you just got to be patient on it. It's gonna work out, but it's done that way so that we can get it right. The swamp is so deep right now on both sides of it. He's going to have an uphill battle. He's going to have to deal with a lot of undecorum, people out there working against him. And I think as long as we can keep the decorum going, we can talk through the issues, find solutions. And I don't care which side the solution that helps the people comes from. If it comes from the Democrat side, let's go with it. If it comes from the Republican side, let's go with it. But the problem for so many years is if it comes from the other side of the aisle, we
bad.
fight against it, even though it would help the American people. And that's got to stop.
Okay, let's go to Michael in Florida, independent line.
Hello. I think that the problem with the Republicans, especially the far-right Republicans, is that they believe it's their way and their way only. A prerequisite for living or being in Congress should be you have to believe in elections. That's the very foundation of democracy.
that shouldn't be a prerequisite.
So Mike Johnson may be a calmer, gentler Jim Jordan, but the prerequisite to be the Speaker of the House should be you have to believe in the election. Joe Biden won.
You shouldn't believe. You shouldn't believe in anything. You should verify it with your own
They always
interest.
say, we the people voted us.
Why
But
can't we
they
look into
only
things?
are a small
What's so bad
minority
about looking at something?
of one
Even if everything's on the up and
of
up,
a House of Congress.
why are we
Okay.
so afraid
Michael
of
there in
looking
Florida,
at it?
Manu Raju of CNN reporting on his X feed saying that he asked the Democratic Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, about Mike Johnson's conservative politics versus Kevin McCarthy's, saying, quote, "I don't believe his policies are more conservative than Kevin McCarthy's. There's no daylight between Mike Johnson and Kevin McCarthy on those issues." Says he doesn't regret the vote to oust McCarthy. So that's just some of the state of play as we wait for these final four people to finish the call of the House.
I mean, for fuck's sake, it's been 49 minutes since this started, since they called quorum,
Good morning. How you doing?
and you still have four that don't know if they're there or not.
Why they're always complaining about Biden being old. I think he's smarter than all these Republicans in there right now. They're picking somebody right now.
Caller, you're going to have to stop listening to your television and just finish your thought, please.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and I'm just wondering why they keep putting these guys that are deniers and everything, and they're getting threatened by one man that's being impeached and everything, or being having to go to
God,
court
this
for
guy
all
is a
these
special
crazy
kind of
things that
stupid.
he's done, and they're just listening to everything he says. I just don't understand what's wrong with these people.
Okay, we'll take you. It looks like the gavel is cut down. We'll go back to the House of Representatives.
All right, this is going to be interesting because I don't think that any of the previous that we have is going to matter a damn bit. So this is going to be all new, and we'll see who abstains and who votes for him.
On this roll call, 429 members have recorded their presence. The question now recurs on the election of Speaker. The tellers will please come forward to take their seats once again.
215.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I didn't even notice.
So that makes the magic number 6. If he has more than 6 detractors, he loses. Put me on the first tomorrow store return and say, "Yep, I agree."
All right.
Yeah, no commies allowed. No Democrats allowed on Mars either. But I just repeated myself. I apologize.
The nominations are now in order. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Stefanik.
Mr. Speaker Pro Temp, Madam Clerk, colleagues, on behalf of the House Republican Conference, I rise today to nominate the gentleman from Louisiana, Mike Johnson, as Speaker of the People's House.
It's clapping seals.
We convene this esteemed body today at a time of great crisis across America.
Sounds like some
a time
drunk
of
Brits trying to watch
unprecedented
some football.
challenges in this hallowed chamber, and a time when our most precious ally, Israel's very existence, is under attack from forces of evil. Yesterday, our dear colleague, our former conference chair, our chair of Energy and Commerce, Kathy McMorris Rogers, nominated Mike Johnson in our conference. And she put it best, and I want to quote her today. She said, quote, "Trust has been broken and we have come to a standstill. How do we restore trust between members, leadership, and ultimately between Congress and we, the people?" Kathy went on to say, "There's a sense that it cannot be business as usual." She went on to note, above the Speaker's chair in the House chamber is our nation's motto, "In God we trust."
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Ms.
Amazing.
McMorris
He's
Rogers
based,
went on
just
to
based
say,
enough.
"The
Let's get it over
times
with.
in which we are living demand boldness, unity, and transformational leadership that begins with trust in God and each other. Trust is when the magic happens." In the story of King David, we are reminded that man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart, end quote. Today is the day that House Republicans will humbly look in our hearts and elect Mike Johnson as Speaker of the People's House. A man of deep faith, Mike epitomizes what it means to be a servant leader. A deeply respected constitutional lawyer, Mike has dedicated his life to preserving America's great principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Mike is a titan on the Judiciary Committee and a dedicated member of the House Armed Services Committee. And as vice chair of our conference, he has united all of our members to speak clearly and boldly on behalf of the American people. A friend to all and an enemy to none, Mike is strong, tough, and fair, and above all, Mike is kind.
And to all,
And at
enemy
this
to
very
none.
moment, this
Well,
Republican
you're not
conference
selling me on him
knows that
anymore.
we live in perilous times and the American people are hurting. Families are struggling under the pain of inflation caused by reckless far-left spending, unable to afford groceries, heat, or gas. We have an inhumane open border with millions illegally smuggled and trafficked, and tens of thousands of children lost in the chasm of the incompetence and negligence of the Biden administration. Israel is under attack by Iranian-backed Hamas terrorists committing atrocities, with Israelis suffering the bloodiest days in modern memory. Crime is skyrocketing on our streets, while there are vicious calls from the left to defund our great men and women in blue. American energy production has been crushed by Joe Biden's radical, failed, far-left Democrat policies, causing seniors, farmers, and families to pay more at the pump. And Americans fundamentally understand that the federal government has been illegally weaponized against we, the people, shredding the Constitution, targeting conservatives, parents,
To be fair, you neocons have been shredding the Constitution as well.
The federal government has been illegally weaponized against we, the people, shredding the Constitution, targeting conservatives, parents, and even Joe Biden's top political opponent. The people are looking to this great chamber, 6-9. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season, if we do
This
not
is not
give
me.
up,
This is their
House
feed.
Republicans and Speaker Mike Johnson never give up. Today is the day we get this done. May God bless our our next speaker, Mike Johnson. May God bless the United States of America. And I yield back.
That was actual C-SPAN's feed.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tempore. I notice a little bit more of a smile on your face today than we have in the past.
Kind of seems by the demeanor that this is probably a foregone conclusion at this point, so the reports are accurate.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today at the direction of the Democratic caucus to place into nomination for the position of Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries from New York. Mr. Speaker, you may agree with this, but we are back here 22 days into this Republican manufactured chaos, and House Republicans have brought us to the exact same position that we were back then. All of the infighting, all of the disarray, just to end up where we were 3 weeks ago. These past few weeks, we have been left wondering if Republicans were truly intent on solving our issues, reopening the House of Representatives, and rallying around someone to lead this chamber. Or has this been about something else? Has this been about a focus of House Republicans to find the person who can pass their extreme litmus test to oppose marriage equality,
If not, he should.
enact a nationwide abortion ban without exceptions, gut Social Security and Medicare, and support overturning a free and fair election? It's a fair question. It's a fair question. No one. Nowhere in that candidate questionnaire is it about growing the middle class, helping our communities, keeping the cost of health care lower, and making life for everyday Americans better. The gentlewoman from New York said it right. This has been about one thing. This has been about who can appease Donald Trump.
Again, you know how this works. He's still the leader of the party. Yes, you have to appease the leader of the Republican Party as it currently stands. That has to happen.
House Republicans have put their names behind someone who has been called the most important architect of the Electoral College objections.
And you know that.
He's spearheaded. That's fair. That's fair. We know how you feel. Yeah, you've made that clear. He's spearheaded the legal effort, joined by more than 100 of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, in support of a dangerous and baseless lawsuit to overturn the results of the 2020 election. On the eve of January 6th,
they wrote to put Potato Joe in charge when
some
they
of
rigged
my
their vote.
Republican colleagues
Exactly.
even called this a failed strategy. Yet those same individuals plan to stand right next to him today. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, House Democrats believe that when members of this body voted to reject the results of the 2020 election, they forfeited their ability to lead this chamber.
Oh, you wish that was the case, don't you? Daddy, we're coming back. They should, but then they can't powder their own egos, and they're all
On this
major
side of the aisle,
narcissists.
we know what leadership looks like. Hakeem Jeffries has never turned his back on the will of the American people. The son of two social workers, he has always stood by the side of working families. The most pressing needs of everyday Americans are his North Star. He believes that everyone in America should have the opportunity to get ahead and achieve their version of the American dream. He believes that access to affordable health care is a right, not a privilege. He believes that reproductive freedom must be guaranteed, not stripped away. He believes that working families, not the wealthy and the well-connected, should be rewarded. He believes in growing the middle class so that everyone can succeed. He believes that our schools and our communities should be safe and free from gun violence. He believes that investing in public schools, not depriving students of fact-based education by banning books.
Fact-based about... Never mind. I'm not going to share it. This is C-SPAN's feed. I might have to find a new feed because this one sucks.
He believes in taking care of our seniors and our veterans, not slashing their benefits. He believes in living up to the promise that America is a beacon of hope and a land of opportunity. He believes in defending democracy against all enemies and adversaries, foreign and domestic. He believes in standing by our allies, Israel and Ukraine.
I try not to use, so C-SPAN is government, so I try not to use other people's coverage.
And
that
he believes in keeping our
could have some
government
copyright
running
too,
and open.
but I might if it keeps being shitty.
Let me be clear. This is not just a belief system. Leader Jeffries has the track record to back it up. He is certainly a far contrast from who Republicans have nominated, with or without their votes, to nominate today. But if House Republicans choose, they can still join us on a bipartisan path
Nobody's
forward.
going to join you.
Let's come together to fund our government, support our allies abroad, and deliver for working families. End the chaos, end the dysfunction, end the extremism. Let's open up the people's house. I yield back.
I don't want to fund the government. I don't want to support our allies overseas. And I don't want any funding to go anywhere.
I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the
reading
bullet
clerk
that is
will now
utilized,
call
a 50
the roll.
caliber, these kinds of bullets need to be licensed
Jeffries.
and do not need to be on the streets.
Adderholt.
That's the one you're talking about, Patrick.
Johnson. Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford.
Servant Leader Honorable Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Allen.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Allred. Jeffries. Amadei.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Armstrong. Johnson. Arrington. Johnson.
Mike Johnson.
Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin. Johnson. Bacon.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson.
Bacon.
Baird.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Balderson. Johnson. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. Johnson. Barr. Johnson. Berrigan. Johnson. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. Johnson. Barr. Johnson. Berrigan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. Johnson. Beatty. Jeffries. Bentz. Johnson. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman. Johnson.
Also, they don't seem to
Beyer.
have up the
Beyer.
the thing. You know what I'm talking about. The
Bice.
counter.
Johnson. Biggs. Johnson. Bilirakis.
Absolutely, Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Bishop of Georgia. Jeffries.
There is
Bishop
no running
of
tally
North
over right
Carolina.
here on RSBN. There are no votes
Johnson.
for others at this point. It's just
Blumenauer.
we'll go back to spin.
Boebert.
Sorry for jumping around
Johnson.
like that, but
Bonamici. Jeffries.
we are actually voting right now. Bigger.
Bost. Johnson. Bowman. Jeffries. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Burkeen. Johnson. Brown. Jeffries.
No others, no present so far.
Brownlee.
That's a good sign.
Jeffries. Buchanan.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Buck. Johnson. Bouchon. Johnson. Bazinski. Jeffries. Burchett. Johnson. Burgess. Johnson. Burleson. Johnson. Bush. Jeffries. Calvert. Johnson. Kamek. Johnson. Caraballo. Jeffries. Carbajal. Jeffries. Cardenas. Jeffries. Carey. Johnson. Carl. Johnson. Carson. Jeffries. Carter of Georgia. Johnson. Carter of Louisiana. Jeffries. Carter of Texas. Johnson. Cartwright. Jeffries. Kassar. Jeffries. Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Chavez de Reamer. Johnson. Sherfilis McCormick. Jeffries. Chu. Jeffries. Siscomani. Johnson. Clark of Massachusetts. Jeffries. Clark of New York. Jeffries. Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. Johnson. Cloud. Johnson. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. Johnson. Cohen. Jeffries. Cole. Johnson. Collins. Johnson. Comer. Johnson. Connolly. Jeffries. Correa. Correa. Costa. Jeffries. Courtney. Jeffries. Craig. Jeffries. Crane. Johnson. Crawford. Johnson. Crenshaw. Jeffries. Davidson. Johnson. Illinois. Jeffries. O. Carolina. Jeffries. Dean. Jeffries. DeGette. Jeffries. Dela Cruz. Johnson. DeLauro. Jeffries. Del Bene. Jeffries. DeLuzio. Jeffries. DeSaulnier. Jeffries. Desjardins. Johnson. Diaz-Pizito. Johnson. Diaz-Balart. Johnson. Dingle. Jeffries. Doggett. Jeffries. Donalds. Johnson. Duarte. Johnson. Duncan. Johnson. Dunn of Florida. Johnson. Edwards. Johnson. Elsie. Johnson. Emmer.
I think so.
Johnson. Escobar. Jeffries. Eshoo. Jeffries. Espaillat. Jeffries. Estes. Johnson. Evans. Jeffries. Ezell. Johnson. Fallon. Johnson. Finstra. Johnson. Ferguson. Johnson. Finstad. Johnson. Fishbach.
Apparently, in the recorded vote, they have Dan Crenshaw voting for Johnson, but I heard clearly that he voted for Jeffries.
Fitzpatrick.
So
Johnson. Fleischman. Johnson. Fletcher.
they have him officially recorded voting for
Flood.
Johnson, but he did
Johnson.
vote for Jeffries.
Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries. Fox. Johnson. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. Scott Franklin. Johnson. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. Johnson. Fulcher. Johnson. Gates. Johnson. Gallagher. Johnson. Gallego. Gallego.
I know that once it's in, they can
Garamendi.
figure out if they're
Jeffries. Garbarino. Johnson.
they can change or recertify it.
Garcia.
So,
Johnson. Robert Garcia.
oh no,
Jeffries.
yeah,
Garcia
I'm sure
of
he did.
Illinois.
I'll see if I can find it. Let me see if I can
Jeffries.
grab it.
Garcia of Texas. Jeffries. Jimenez. Johnson. Golden of Maine. Jeffries. Goldman of New York. Jeffries.
Yep.
Gomez. Jeffries. Tony Gonzalez. Johnson. Vicente Gonzalez. Vicente Gonzalez. Good of Virginia. Johnson. Gooden of Texas. Johnson. Gosar. Johnson. Gottheimer. Jeffries. Granger. Johnson. Graves of Louisiana. Johnson. Graves of Missouri. Johnson. Green of Tennessee. Johnson. Green of Texas. Jeffries. Green of Georgia. Johnson. Griffith. Johnson. Grijalva. Jeffries. Grothman. Johnson. Guest. Johnson. Guthrie. Johnson. Hageman. Johnson. Harder of California. Jeffries. Harris. Johnson. Harshbarger. Johnson. Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn. Johnson. Higgins of Louisiana. Johnson. Higgins of New York. Jeffries. Hill.
I think she misspoke. I think that's what it said. Because I just watched
Johnson.
it back, and he did
Hines.
say Johnson.
Jeffries.
But she didn't record it as that, but it is
Henson.
officially recorded as
Johnson.
Johnson.
Horsford.
So,
Jeffries. Houchin. Johnson. Houlihan. Jeffries. Hoyer. Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon. Jeffries.
so that's kind of where we're at. He definitely voted
Hudson.
for Johnson, but
Johnson.
she said Jeffries. But
Huffman. Jeffries. Huizinga. Johnson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hunt.
I heard him vote for it.
Johnson.
So, not that I trust iPatch,
Bosa.
but
Johnson. Ivey.
exactly.
Jeffries. Jackson of Illinois.
Looks like we're getting
Jeffries.
pizza.
Jackson of North Carolina. Jeffries.
Oh, it does? Okay. Gotcha.
Jackson
It
of
must have
Texas.
skipped just at the right time then.
Johnson. Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. Johnson. Jayapal. Jeffries. Jeffries. Jeffries.
What's up, Jacob Castro over on Rumble. Shenny. Jacob Castro, the Rumble mod.
Johnson of Georgia.
All moderators are gay.
Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. Johnson.
Just saying.
Johnson of Ohio. Johnson. Johnson of South Dakota. Johnson. Jordan. Johnson. Joyce of Ohio. Joyce of Ohio. Johnson. Joyce of Pennsylvania. Johnson. Camlogger Dove. Jeffries. Captor. Jeffries. Kane of New Jersey. Johnson. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries. Kelly of Mississippi. Johnson. Kelly of Pennsylvania. Johnson. Kana. Jeffries. Kiggins of Virginia. Johnson. Kildee. Jeffries. Kiley. Johnson. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim of California. Johnson. Kim of New Jersey. Jeffries. Krishnamurthy. Jeffries. Custer. Jeffries. Kustoff.
The red team does seem exhausted,
Johnson.
but it could be simply that they think
LaHood.
Mike Johnson gives them the best chance.
Johnson.
The neocons aren't moving.
LaLota. Johnson.
America First is not moving. So eventually you have to compromise, and
LaMalfa.
that seems like what this
Johnson.
vote is, which is okay with me and
Lamborn.
how it should be. Like,
Johnson.
if there are multiple factions or
Landsman.
multiple groups inside the party, you have to satisfy everyone. That's why
Landsman.
it's set up like it is. So
Jeffries. Langworthy. Johnson. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson.
this is frickin' C-SPAN again. Dems only have
Jeffries.
212. Yes. So Well, they can't reach.
Langworthy.
I think it's
Johnson.
less because there was 4 abstaining
Larson
from
of
voting.
Washington.
So it should be
Jeffries.
probably
Larson
215.
of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latta. Johnson.
Because if they
LaTurner.
don't vote present, there doesn't have to be
Johnson.
a majority of the people who
Lawler.
aren't present. That's why we take that first roll call
Johnson.
vote that takes 2 hours.
Lee of California. Jeffries. Lee of Florida. Johnson. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Jeffries. Lesko. Johnson.
Proudly, Mike
Letlow.
Johnson.
Johnson.
I'm proud of Mike Johnson, too.
Levin.
It looks like he's going to pull this one off.
Jeffries. Liu. Jeffries. Lofgren. Jeffries. Loudermilk.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Lucas. Johnson.
That's true
Luke
as well.
Meyer. Johnson.
Hopefully.
Luna. Johnson.
Hopefully he's too new to be
Luttrell.
entirely corrupted.
Johnson.
I mean, I'm sure
Lynch.
he is corrupted, but
Jeffries.
one can hope.
Mace. Johnson. Magaziner. Jeffries. Maliotakis. Johnson. Mann. Johnson. Manning. Jeffries. Massey. Johnson. Mast. Johnson. Matsui. Jeffries. McBath. Jeffries. McCarthy. Johnson.
There's a new poll up. It's really important.
McCall. Johnson. McLean. Johnson. McClellan. Jeffries. McClintock. Johnson.
It's not a blank poll.
McCollum.
It's you, man bun.
Jeffries.
You're the only
McCormick.
one that doesn't get my poll anymore.
Johnson. McGarvey. Jeffries.
Yeah, I'm wondering what been on
McGovern.
behind closed doors there, Cheesy.
Jeffries.
Because this one came out of left
McHenry.
field for sure.
Johnson.
There's got to be something to it for the neocons to get on board.
Meeks. Jeffries. Menendez. Jeffries. Ming. Jeffries. Muser. Johnson. Mfume. Jeffries. Miller of Illinois. Johnson. Miller of Ohio. Johnson. Miller of West Virginia. Johnson. Miller Meeks. Johnson. Mills. Johnson. Molinaro. Johnson. Molinar. Johnson. Jeffries. Moskowitz. Jeffries. Moulton. Jeffries. Mervan. Jeffries. Mullen. Jeffries. Murphy. Johnson. Nadler. Jeffries.
Well, someone put the question
Napolitano.
in chat. The question is,
Jeffries.
do you like my
Neal.
Johnson?
Jeffries.
But I left the K out.
Neguse. Jeffries. Nels. Johnson. Newhouse. Johnson. Nickel. Jeffries. Norcross.
I
Jeffries.
don't know why it's doing that. I'll reach out to YouTube.
Norman.
They'll ignore me, but I'll reach out to them.
Johnson. None of Iowa. Johnson.
None of Iowa voted for Johnson.
Obernolte. Johnson. Ocasio-Cortez.
Pray to God, it's the last time I have to make that joke because
Jeffries.
it's getting cringe even for me.
Ogles. Johnson. Omar. Jeffries. Owens. Johnson. Pallone. Jeffries. Palmer. Johnson.
We have none voting
Panetta.
against so far from the Republican Party. This
Jeffries.
is probably
Pappas.
very likely to carry, but
Jeffries. Pasquale.
hard to tell because at any time there could be
Jeffries.
5, 6 holdouts. Not
Payne.
likely, but could be.
Jeffries. Pelosi.
Shut up, Nancy.
Jeffries. Peltola. Jeffries. Pence. Johnson. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. Johnson. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. Johnson. Phillips. Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Porter. Jeffries. Posey. Johnson. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley. Jeffries.
Still no others, still no present
Ramirez.
votes. Looking very good.
Jeffries. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. Johnson. Rogers of Washington. Johnson. Rogers of Alabama. Johnson. Rogers of Kentucky. Johnson. Rose. Johnson. Rosendale. Johnson.
And they need 30 more
Ross.
votes. 28.
Jeffries.
Somewhere in there.
Rouser.
Fucking C-SPAN.
Johnson. Roy. Johnson.
Chip Roy voted for Johnson.
Ruiz. Jeffries. Rupersberger. Jeffries. Rutherford.
The very honorable Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Ryan. Jeffries. Salazar. Johnson. Salinas. Jeffries. Sanchez. Jeffries. Santos. Johnson. Sarbanes. Jeffries. Scalise.
Great state of Louisiana, Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Scanlon. Jeffries. Schakowsky. Jeffries. Schiff. Jeffries. Snyder. Jeffries. Skolton. Jeffries. Schreier. Jeffries. Swikert. Johnson. Austin Scott. Johnson. David Scott. Jeffries. Scott of Virginia. Jeffries. Self. Johnson. Sessions. Johnson. Sewell. Jeffries. Sherman. Jeffries. Sherrill. Jeffries. Simpson. Johnson. Slotkin. Jeffries. Smith of Missouri. Johnson. Smith of Nebraska. Johnson.
Thank you for the
Smith
super
of
chat,
New
Cheesy,
Jersey.
but we haven't done it yet. You just
Johnson.
You just completely
Smith of Washington.
jinxed the entire process. We're gonna have like
Jeffries.
13 in a row.
Smucker. Johnson. Sorensen. Jeffries. Soto. Jeffries.
I'll blame you for eternity.
Spanberger. Jeffries. Sparks. Johnson. Stensbury. Jeffries. Stanton. Jeffries. Stauber. Stefanik. Johnson. Style. Johnson. Stubbe. Johnson. Stevens.
You
Jeffries.
never count your chicken nuggets before they hatch.
Strickland.
For the protection of voting rights, Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Strong. Johnson. Swalwell. Jeffries. Sykes. Jeffries. Takano. Jeffries. Tenney. Johnson. Tanadar.
Getting real close.
Jeffries. Thompson of California. Jeffries. Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. Titus.
I don't see anybody
Tiffany.
exceptionally worrisome on the roll
Tlaib.
of who's left either. So
Jeffries. Takuda. Jeffries. Tonko. Jeffries. Torres of California. Jeffries. Torres of New York. Jeffries. Trahan. Jeffries. Trone. Jeffries. Turner. Johnson. Underwood. Jeffries.
Oh, I hate C-SPAN.
Valadeo. Johnson. Van Drew.
We are back better than ever. Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Van Dyne. Johnson. Van Orden. Van Orden. Vargas. Jeffries. Vasquez. Jeffries. Vesey. Jeffries. Velasquez. Jeffries. Wagner. Johnson. Wahlberg. Johnson.
Close.
Waltz. Johnson. Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters.
He supports freedom of choice. Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Watson Coleman.
As the only candidate who represents the integrity of this house.
How was all that about?
Watson Coleman.
Again, do I need to say Hakeem Jeffries again because I
Jeffries.
Let's calm down,
Now,
Grandma.
order. The clerk, the staff, and the tellers deserve to have the attention of the House. The clerk will continue.
Weber of Texas. Johnson.
The
Webster of
Democrats seem a
Florida.
little salty. I still think they thought
Johnson.
the Republicans were gonna
Winstrup.
get some neocons to flip.
Johnson. Westerman. Johnson. Wexton. Jeffries. Wild. Jeffries. Williams of Georgia. Jeffries.
Oh, the place where
Williams
they're
of New
prosecuting
York.
President Trump unlawfully.
Johnson.
Okay, one
Williams
more.
of Texas.
There it is.
Johnson.
Mike Johnson will
Wilson of
be the
Florida.
Speaker of the House.
Wilson of Florida.
Now let's see if it will be unanimous.
Jeffries. Wilson of South Carolina. Johnson.
She might get a talking after that one.
Whitman. Johnson. Womack.
With the 217th pick in the race for Speaker for the District of Arkansas, selects Mike Johnson.
There we go. So the GOP has a speaker. And we'll listen to the rest of the voting,
Johnson.
which doesn't really matter.
Yakum. Johnson.
We're here.
Zinke.
Been here for 2 hours. We might as well, right?
Johnson.
The clerk will now call the names of the members who did not answer the first call of the roll.
Yep.
Byer. Jeffries.
Absolutely.
Boyle of Pennsylvania. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Correa. Correa. Gallego. Jeffries. Vicente Gonzalez. Vicente Gonzalez. Van Orden. Van Orden.
If there are any members who did not answer the call of the roll, they may come to the well and vote at this time.
If you didn't show up to work, now you can come give your opinion. It's all a foregone conclusion at this point. So he does have the votes to carry. As soon as the procedural is done, Mike Johnson will be the new Speaker of the House of Representatives in the 4th round of voting. You know, they had their press conference speeches ready for another loss. I think they knew going in. I think he made them some deals, and we'll see what that entails coming out of this. Because these are people who do this for a living. You're not going to get everything you want. It's just unreasonable to think that. So we just try and get the best out of what we can. And I think Mike is a good compromise for both sides. Not a huge America First guy, but also seems to be pretty independent. So, unfortunately, the political game is all about corruption, and it is all about selling your soul to get positions of power. And I think the true great leaders are the ones who can make that compromise, but still not compromise their values. So compromise to get the power, but not compromise their value system and belief system. And I think that takes a special kind of person that maybe we haven't seen in a long time. You can't be Matt Gaetz and then win the speakership. It's just not going to happen. We've seen you can't even be Jim Jordan and win the speakership. You have to be much more much more reserved and able to give some kind of concession.
In their
that's how our
tallies,
government
the
should
total
work.
number of votes cast is 429, of which the Honorable Mike Johnson of the state of Louisiana has received 220 votes.
Exactly.
And the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 209 votes.
He lost again. One day, Hakeem. One day.
Therefore, the Honorable Mike Johnson of the state of Louisiana, having received a majority of the votes cast, is duly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 118th Congress.
So we now have a speaker. Get out your pens and checkbooks and let's start writing those checks to Ukraine.
The chair appoints the following committee to escort the speaker-elect to the chair. The gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise. The gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer. The gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Stefanik. The gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Palmer. The gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McLean. The gentleman from California, Mr. McCarthy. The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Donalds. The gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Hearn. The gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Bergman. The gentlewoman from Washington, Mrs. Rogers. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Arrington. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Fallon. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Molinaro. The gentlewoman from Florida, Mrs. Comack.
You're just naming everyone in Congress
from New York,
that voted for
Mr.
him?
Jeffries. The gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms. Clark. The gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar. The gentleman from California, Mr. Liu. The gentlewoman from Washington, Ms. Delbene. The gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Clyburn. The gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Neguse. The gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Escobar. The gentlewoman from Illinois, Ms. Underwood. The gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz. The gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Kildee.
No,
The
I mean,
gentlewoman
there's
from
definitely
California, Ms.
a ton of
Jacobs.
Dems, so
The gentlewoman from Texas,
just
Ms.
everybody?
Crockett. And the members of the Louisiana delegation, Mr. Graves, Mr. Higgins, Ms. Letlow, Mr. Carter. The committee will retire from the chamber to escort the speaker-elect to the chair.
Wait, why do they have to leave to escort him to the... He's right there. Kind of waiting. I figured he would give some kind of speech or some kind of information. We'll wait and see on that. Thank you, Digger. I have some articles. If it's not terribly quickly, we'll go through some stuff about Mr. Johnson. But I thought it was a fairly quick process in previous times. Usually C-SPAN jump ship quickly if there's going to be some time in between. So, yeah, it is. It's just normal frat. You know, this is our group, and now you're a member. There's probably some bloodletting going on. Probably, I might have ordered pizza. I meant real pizza, not pizza. Smashing quite a quick beer, quick case, you know, something like that. Six hours later. Does he get to piss on the chair to mark his territory? God, I hope so. I don't think anybody can stop him. He's Speaker of the House. So now third in line to be President of the United States. In my opinion, the most influential and powerful person in the whole political system is the Speaker of the House, because they control budgets and appropriations and power of the purse, as they say. I think the Speaker of the House is incredibly important. I was kind of digging that everything was shut down, because then we definitely couldn't send money to Ukraine. But the Senate voted 97-0 on a bill to fund Ukraine and Israel. So we'll probably see that as his first bill come into the floor for a vote. I wouldn't be surprised if that was immediate. Not immediate like in this session, but in the next hours to days. Order new curtains. Ask Nancy's opinion. Yeah. Well, as I said, the report was accurate. They moved McCarthy's stuff out today. And there was a post on X that said that they were moving the former speaker's items. There's some indication that there was a speaker. And of course, it's a spectacle to come here and do this vote thing, but they already damn well know who they're voting for and when that's going to happen. So no surprise to anybody on the floors of Congress. Just, you can't give up the game. You got to play the game. So now we're all in the ceremony of things. I'm hoping he comes to the podium here pretty soon. I forgot how cut the Senate is. Yeah. Yep, very much so. Well, they're the honorable representatives, the honorable House. But theoretically, I don't think he will, but theoretically he could just not bring the vote to the floor, so. They'd probably do something to pass it anyways. Some kind of supermajority or something like that, which they would get in the Senate, but it'd be nice to see him take a stand against something, show he's for real from jump. But Botai is going to have to give up a seat that he was only in for what, 15 days, something like that. I'm glad they didn't end up doing extended powers for the Speaker Pro Tem, because I think that's highly unconstitutional, and I think that's what they ran into when that was their original plan. Is the parliamentarian saying, "Nah, you know what? That's not the way this works." So.
And you're watching live coverage of the new speaker and his swearing-in ceremony.
Yes, I'm still there. What the hell? Hang on. Can they appoint a new pro tem? Well, he'll put. So the pro tem came to pass after 9/11 and after continuity of government. They thought they needed a list just like the president. So they thought it would be a good idea to have a list of pro tem candidates or other candidates that were on the list to be able to be pro tems in the event that something happened to the speaker. But the only duty of the pro tem was solely to elect a new speaker. There was never any power given to them. They cannot conduct official business. They cannot do day-to-day operations. Their only power, try and bring this up on the other channel here, or on the other tab. Their only power is to be able to elect the new speaker. So there was never any intention of it being a power position where they could circumvent the speakership elections. So one second. Moved it over. Did they have to go to lunch before the vote, or do they need to go now? Probably now. Exactly. So let's flip tabs, and we'll bring it up here. We sworn in as House Speakers, so they're about to swear him in. That's why. So C-SPAN switches to a new feed. I don't know why, but they do all the time. They're as bad as some YouTubers. Switching feeds and shit. Scrotem, speaker Scrotem. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Mike Johnson will be the next Speaker of the House. We're just waiting on the House committee to escort him to his new corner office, and then I'm sure we'll see a ceremony as well as a speech. So it should be pretty quick here. I mean, quick in the sense of government. It's going to be 12 hours, but should be government fast. Thank you for joining me through this painful process. If you like sitting through painful processes, hit that like and hit that subscribe button. We try and have fun with the painful process that is. So I'd imagine he has to certify, or there has to be some kind of certification. I don't know how the internal process works. Like legitimately what they're currently doing. But oh, we had audio, but there was just some lady laughing. And again, there seems to be some okay.
The House will come to order. Sergeant of Arms.
Mr. Speaker, the Speaker-elect Mike Johnson from the state of Louisiana.
There he is. So there seems to be a lot of interest in this from the people too, and I think that good work by everybody. We seem to be able to put a significant amount of pressure on, so we didn't get another neocon. And I think that's key to how we're going to win back this political system, is if we all continue to pressure and continue to be relentless. Because if we let them do their shady shit, they're going to run things through that we're not going to like. So I think it's important that we stay on it. I think it's important we stay vigilant, and I think it's important we let our voices be heard, because that's a healthy democracy. Which we're not. We're a constitutional republic, but talking points. Magic trick going out one door, coming in the other. But it's from New Orleans, so they could be Cajun black magic. And good news, I don't have to chastise Cheese for eternity for jumping the gun. It was good. It was good. I take less stock in what people say. So we're about to hear a speech, his, acceptance speech, I guess. I'm always curious to not as much of what people say, because it's all pre-written talking points, but how they say
The House
it.
will come to order.
How they say it's the important part to me.
Speaker Mike Johnson, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, Whip Clark, Chairman Aguilar, all of my colleagues in government on both sides of the aisle. It's an honor and a privilege to once again stand before you as House Democratic leader. From the very beginning of this Congress, House Democrats have made clear that we will find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues whenever and wherever possible, for the good of the American people. And House Democrats have repeatedly done
claim you did
just
that here?
that. It was House Democrats who provided a majority of the votes necessary to avoid a catastrophic default on our debt that would have crashed the U.S. economy and triggered a job-killing recession. It was House Democrats who provided a majority of the votes necessary to avoid a government shutdown that would have hurt everyday Americans. It was House Democrats who provided a majority of the votes necessary to secure $16 billion in disaster assistance for Americans whose lives have been devastated by extreme weather events. From the very beginning of this Congress, House Democrats have been governing for the people. We continue to look forward to finding bipartisan common ground whenever and wherever possible. House Democrats will continue to partner with President Biden and Senate Democrats to put people over politics. House Democrats will continue to fight for lower costs, better paying jobs, safer communities, and to build an economy from the middle out and the bottom up and not the top down. House Democrats will continue to push back against extremism in this chamber and throughout the country. House Democrats will continue to protect Social Security, protect Medicare, protect Medicaid, protect our children, protect our climate, protect low-income families, protect working families, the peaceful transfer of power, protect our democracy, and protect a woman's freedom to make her own reproductive health care decisions. These are blue lines. Women's freedom to make her own reproductive health care decisions.
These fans screwing up again.
These are blue lines in the sand, and we will work hard to make sure that they are never crossed. We must also continue to stand by President Biden as he works to bring American hostages and Israeli hostages held by Hamas back home. American hostages and Israeli hostages and international hostages back home.
Oh, we know that.
We must also stand by
I was going
our
to see if
friends
Brian was busy and
on the international
replace
stage.
Democrats
And
with
we have
something
no
else.
better friend in the Middle East than the state of Israel.
I think they do know.
Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish and democratic state. The special relationship between the United States and Israel is unbreakable. Our commitment to Israel's security is ironclad, and Israel has a right to defend itself under the international rules of war against the brutal terror unleashed on its citizens by Hamas.
Always America first.
Our ironclad commitment to Israel's security
Always.
and the effort to defeat Hamas is not inconsistent with the goal of achieving a lasting and just peace between Israel and the Palestinian people.
And again, I don't mind helping other countries when
In
we
many
can,
ways,
but we can't right now.
It is a necessary
We have our own stuff to figure out,
because
and it needs to
Hamas
get
is not
taken care
good
of
for
before we
Israel.
start helping other
Hamas
people.
is not good for America. Hamas is not good for the free world. Hamas is not good for the democratic aspirations of the Palestinian people. We must also support Ukraine in its courageous effort to defeat Russian aggression. There are only two paths in front of us. We can either stand up for Ukraine or bow down to Vladimir Putin. That is not a difficult choice. We must stand up for America's national security. We must stand up for democracy. We must stand up for freedom. We must stand up for truth. We must stand up for the Ukrainian people until victory is won.
No.
It is my expectation that in the next week or so, the Senate will send over for consideration a bipartisan national security funding package for Israel, Ukraine, and our other allies throughout the free world. That also includes humanitarian assistance for Palestinian civilians and others who may be in harm's way. The House of Representatives should
the
take
entire
up
House
this
are
national security
nothing but
package
narcissists
and
that
humanitarian
do nothing
relief
more than
package
to love themselves,
immediately,
to hear themselves
in
talk.
totality,
So they can't
and
let anybody
without
bask
delay.
in anything. They have
The
to use it
time
as
for gamesmanship is over.
The reason to get in front of cameras and the
brinksmanship
millions
is
of
over.
Americans that are
The
interested
time
in the
for
process.
partisanship is over. It's time to get back to doing the business of the American people.
The time for partisanship is over.
Let me
After he just
conclude.
spewed all that bullshit.
Let me conclude with an observation about the state of our democracy. Joe Biden won the 2020 presidential election. He's doing a great job under difficult circumstances throughout the years. Presidents from Ronald Reagan to Barack Obama, Dwight Eisenhower to Lyndon Baines Johnson have spoken to this chamber and urged us to put aside partisan politics for the good of the American people. President Lincoln spoke to this Congress on December 1st, 1862, in the middle of the Civil War, and noted that we in this institution had the power and bore the responsibility to save the Union. The stakes were high. As articulated by President Lincoln, we could either nobly save or meanly lose America as we know it, the last best hope on earth. This is a turbulent time in the American journey, and we have but one charge to keep during this moment of great fragility. Our union must be sustained. Our union must be strengthened. Our union must succeed. There are many throughout this country
What if I say it doesn't, Hakeem?
who are understandably alarmed at the turbulence of the moment.
What if I say you guys are just too damn radical, both sides,
and the extremism that has been unleashed in this chamber
and
from the
don't fight
very
for what we
beginning
need?
of this Congress?
How about that?
But this too shall pass. Our country has often confronted adversity.
Yeah, this
and the
too shall
good
pass.
news
You guys
is
will forget
we
about it
always
eventually.
Find a way to make it to the other side. We faced adversity in the 1860s, in the middle of the Civil War, when the country was literally tearing itself apart. We faced adversity in October of 1929, when the stock market collapsed, plunging us into a Great Depression. We faced adversity in December of 1941, when a foreign power unexpectedly struck, plunging us into a world war with the evil empire of Nazi Germany. We faced adversity in the Deep South in the 1950s and 60s, when the country was struggling to reconcile the inherent contradictions between Jim Crow segregation and the glorious promises of the Constitution. We faced adversity on September 11th, 2001, when the towers and the Pentagon were unexpectedly struck, killing thousands of lives in an instant. We faced adversity right here in the House of Representatives, when on January 6, 2021,
Oh, give me a fucking break.
violent mob of insurrectionists, incited by some in this chamber, overran the House floor as part of an effort to halt the peaceful transfer of power. Every time we faced adversity, the good news here in America is that we always overcome. That is the power of American exceptionalism. That is why America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. That is why I remain optimistic about the future of this country. That is why America is the last best hope on earth. God bless you. God bless the House of Representatives. God bless the United States of America.
Here's your Democrat bullshit for the day. Hope you enjoyed.
It is now my solemn honor, and responsibility to hand over the people's gavel here in the United States House of Representatives to a family man, a hardworking man, a Baptist man, a Southern man, a son of a firefighter's household, the gentleman from the great state of Louisiana and the 56th Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, the Honorable Mike Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. First, a few words of gratitude. I want to thank Leader Jeffries. I do look forward to working with you on behalf of the American people. I know we see things from very different points of view, but I know that in your heart you love and care about this country and you want to do what's right. And so we're going to find common ground there, all right?
One club and you're not in it.
I want to express my great thanks for our Speaker Emeritus, Kevin McCarthy. Kevin has dedicated over 2 decades of his life to selfless public service, 16 of those years in this House. And you would be hard-pressed to find anybody who loves this institution more or has contributed more to it. He is the reason we're in this majority today. His impact can never be overstated, and I want to thank him for his leadership, his friendship, and the selfless sacrifice that you and Judy have made for so many years. You helped build it, Kevin, and we owe you a great debt of gratitude. I want to thank the dedicated and overworked staff of this beleaguered House. They accept praise so stoically. But Miss Susan Cole, our House reading clerk, and yes. Listen, all the clerks and all the staff, you know they're terribly overworked. This has been a grueling process, but they have served an integral role in keeping our republic, and we thank them for that service. I know we all do. I want to thank my dedicated wife of almost 25 years, Kelly. She's not here. We couldn't get a flight in time. This happened sort of suddenly. But we're going to celebrate soon. She spent the last couple of weeks on her knees in prayer to the Lord, and she's a little worn out. We all are. I want to thank our children, Michael and Hannah and Abby and Jack and Will. All of our children sacrifice. All of them do, and we know that. And there's not a lot of perks to being a member of Congress's kid, right? And so I want to thank all of your families as well for what they endure and what they've had to endure for the last few weeks. We've been here a while. Yeah. I want to thank my faithful mother, Jeannie Johnson, who bore me at the age of 17. And my brothers, Chris and Josh, and my sister, Laura, and all their families, and all of our extended family. In Louisiana, family's a big deal, and we got a bunch of them. I especially want to thank all the extraordinary people of the great state of Louisiana.
We have never had a Speaker of the House hail from our state. And so they've been lifting us up. I thank the people of Louisiana for the opportunity to serve you in Congress, and I'm humbled by your continuous support. We will make you proud. To my colleagues, I want to thank you all for the trust that you have instilled in me to lead us in this historic and unprecedented moment that we're in. The challenge before us is...
I don't understand why it keeps cutting.
I want to
I'm
say
not
to the
changing
American
anything.
people, on behalf of all of us here, we hear you.
I
We know
heard that, Ben.
I want to say to the American people, on behalf of all of us here, we hear you. We know the challenges you're facing. We know that there's a lot going on in our country, domestically and abroad, and we are ready to get to work again to solve those problems, and we will. Our mission here is to serve you well, to restore the people's faith in this House, in this great and essential institution. My dad, it was mentioned, my dad was a firefighter. He was an assistant chief in the fire department in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, a little town in northwest Louisiana. On September 17th, 1984, when I was 12 years old, he was critically burned and permanently disabled in the line of duty. All I ever wanted to be when I grew up was the chief of the fire department in Shreveport. But after the explosion on that fateful day, he nearly died, and it was a long road back, and it's changed all of our life trajectories. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and my dad, he lived with pain all the rest of his life for decades more, and I lost my dad to cancer 3 days before I got elected to Congress, 3 days. And he wanted to be there at my election night so badly. I'm the first college graduate in my family. This was a big deal to him. And so several weeks after that, it was early 2017, it was my freshman term, and it fell to me to be in the rostrum one night to serve here as Speaker Pro Tem. I thought that was a big deal until I figured out that's what you do for freshmen late at night. And I think if my memory serves, Miss Jackson Lee was winding down one of her long, eloquent speeches. And not that I was not enraptured by her speech, but I looked up at the top in the chamber there, and I saw the face of Moses staring down. And I just felt in that moment the weight of this place, right? The history that is revered here and the future that we are called to forge. And I really was just kind of almost overwhelmed with emotion. It occurred to me in that moment, it had been several weeks, and I had not had an opportunity yet to grieve my dad's passing. And I just had this sense that somehow he knew. And I had tears come to my eyes, and I was standing here, and I'm wiping them away, and then it suddenly occurs to me, the late night C-SPAN viewers are going to think something's very wrong with the new young congressman from Louisiana. It wasn't Sheila's speech. I'm sorry. I just knew in that moment that my dad, my father would be proud of me, and I felt that he was. And I think all of our parents are proud of what we're called to do here. I think all the American people at one time had great pride in this institution, but right now, that's in jeopardy. And we have a challenge before us right now to rebuild and restore that trust. This is a beautiful country. It's the beauty of America that allows a firefighter's kid like me to come here and serve in this sacred chamber where great men and women have served before all of us and strive together to build and then preserve what Lincoln did refer to as the last best hope of man on earth. We stand at a very dangerous time. I'm stating the obvious. We all know that. The world is in turmoil. But a strong America is good for the entire world. We are the beacon of freedom, and we must preserve this grand experiment in self-governance. It still is. We're only 247 years into this grand experiment. We don't know how long it will last, but we do know that the founders told us to take good care of it. I want to tell all my colleagues here what I told the Republicans in that room last night. I don't believe there are any coincidences in a matter like this. I believe that Scripture, the Bible, is very clear. That God is the one that raises up those in authority. He raised up each of you, all of us. And I believe that God has ordained and allowed each one of us to be brought here for this specific moment in this time. This is my belief. I believe that each one of us has a huge responsibility today to use the gifts that God has given us to serve the extraordinary people of this great country, and they deserve it, and to ensure that our republic remains standing as the great beacon of light and hope and freedom in a world that desperately needs it. It was in 1962 that our national motto, "In God We Trust," was adorned above this rostrum. And if you look at the little guide that they give tourists and constituents who come of the Soviet Union, that philosophy in the middle of that Marxism and communism, which begins with the premise that there is no God. This is a critical distinction that is also articulated in our nation's birth certificate. We know the language well. The famous second paragraph that we used to have children memorize in school, and they don't do that so often anymore, but they should. G.K. Chesterton was the famous British philosopher and statesman, and he said one time, "America is the only nation in the world that is founded upon a creed." And he said it's listed with almost theological lucidity in the Declaration of Independence. What is our creed? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, not born equal, created equal. And they are endowed by the same inalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That is the creed that has animated our nation since its founding, that has made us the great nation that we are. And we're in a time of extraordinary crisis. And they are endowed by the same inalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That is the creed that has animated our nation since its founding, that has made us the great nation that we are. And we're in a time of extraordinary crisis right now. And the world needs us to be strong. They need us to remember our creed and our admonition. Crisis right now. And the world needs us to be strong. They need us to remember our creed and our admonition. Turmoil and violence have rocked the Middle East and Eastern Europe. We all know it. And tensions continue to build in the Indo-Pacific. The country demands strong leadership of this body, and we must not waver. Our nation's greatest ally in the Middle East is under attack. The first bill that I'm going to bring to this floor in just a little while will be in support of our dear friend Israel, and we're overdue in getting that done. We're going to show not only Israel, but the entire world that the barbarism of Hamas that we have all seen play out on our television screens is wretched and wrong, and we're going to stand for the good in that conflict. We have a catastrophe at our southern border. The Senate and the White House can no longer ignore the problem. From Texas to New York, wave after wave of illegal migrants are stressing our communities to their breaking points. We know that our streets are being flooded with fentanyl, and all of our communities, children, and even adults are dying from it. The status quo is unacceptable. Inaction is unacceptable, and we must come together and address the broken border. We have to do it. The skyrocketing cost of living is unsustainable, and Americans should not have to worry about how they're going to feed their family every week because they can't afford their groceries anymore. Everybody in this room should think about this. Here's the stats. Prices have increased over 17% in the last 2 years. Credit card interest rates are at the highest level in nearly 3 decades, and mortgage rates are now at a peak we haven't seen since 2001. We have to bring relief to the American people by reining in federal spending and bringing down inflation.
Go back about an hour and a half into the stream. I said the first bill that he'll bring to the floor is support for Israel.
The greatest threat to our national security is our nation's debt. And while we've been sitting in this room, that's right, the debt has crossed almost $33.6 trillion. In the time that it's going to take me to deliver this speech, we'll go up another 20 million in debt. It's unsustainable. We have to get the country back on track. Now, we know this is not going to be an easy task, and tough decisions will have to be made. But the consequences, if we don't act now, are unbearable. We have a duty to the American people to explain this to them so they understand it well. And we are going to establish a bipartisan debt commission to begin working on this crisis immediately. Immediately.
Oh, another commission. More people getting paid to do nothing. Exactly.
We all know that we also live in a time of bitter partisanship. It was noted, and it's been on display here today, right? When our people are losing their faith in government, when they're losing sight of the principles that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world.
I can turn off.
I think we got to be
subtitles if you
mindful of
prefer.
We're going to
I
fight.
usually
We're going to
turn them
fight
off, but
vigorously over our core principles because they're at odds a lot of times now in this modern era. We have to sacrifice sometimes our preferences because that's what's necessary in a legislative body. But we will defend our core principles to the end. In his farewell address, thank you. In his farewell address, President Reagan explained the secret of his rapport with people. And I like to paraphrase, free markets and human dignity. Those are the foundations that made us the extraordinary nation that we are. And you and I today are the stewards of those principles. The things that have made us the freest, most powerful, most successful nation in the history of the world. The things that have made us truly exceptional. In this time of great crisis, it is our duty to work together, as previous generations of great leaders have, to face these great challenges and solve these great problems. I will conclude with this. The job of the Speaker of the House is to serve the whole body, and I will. But I've made a commitment to my colleagues here that this Speaker's office is going to be known for decentralizing the power here. My office is going to be known for members being more involved and having more influence in our processes and all the major decisions that are made here, for predictable processes and regular order. We owe that to the people. That's right. And I want to make this commitment to you, to my colleagues here and on the other side of the aisle as well. My office is going to be known for trust and transparency and accountability, for good stewardship of the people's treasure, for the honesty and integrity that is incumbent upon us, all of us, here in the people's house. Our system of government is not a perfect system. It's got a lot of challenges, but it is still the best one in the world, and we have an opportunity to preserve it. Last thing I'm going to say is a message to the rest of the world. They have been watching this drama play out for a few weeks. We've learned a lot of lessons, but you know what? Through adversity, it makes you stronger. And yeah, and we want our allies around the world to know that this body of lawmakers is reporting again to our duty stations. Let the enemies of freedom around the world hear us loud and clear. The People's House is back in business. Thank you. Thank you. We will do our duty here. We will serve you well. We will govern well, and we'll make you proud in this institution again. We're gonna fight every day to make sure that is true. I look forward to the days ahead. I genuinely believe in my heart that the best days of America are still ahead of us. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. I'm now ready to take the oath of office, and I ask the Dean of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Harold Rogers of Kentucky, to please administer the oath of office.
Mr. Speaker Designee, congratulations on your election.
Thank you, sir.
When our founding fathers chose a bold, new, and innovative new self-rule government, it was met by deep skepticism by the world's monarchs. They said self-rule is only a dream. Our founders said they're right. It's the American dream.
Amen.
Now it's our dream. We're in charge. The speakership of the United States House of Representatives is the crucial outpost for the well-being of the people's government, the keeper, if you will, of the dream. Sir, if you wish to assume this awesome responsibility, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter. So help you God?
I do, so help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
The oath's short, so.
Good for me. Would y'all like to get right into governing? For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, that is a nice ring to it, by the way. Mr. Speaker, I offer a privilege resolution to notify the Senate of the election of Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House of Representatives and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Resolution 810. Resolve that a message be sent to the Senate to inform that body that Mike Johnson, a representative from the state of Louisiana, has been elected Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Without objection, the resolution is agreed to, and the motion to consider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, to notify President Biden of the election of Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House. I offer a privilege
Now, how the hell are you going to do that?
Immediate
How are you going to get Joe Biden to realize that somebody was elected Speaker?
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Resolution 811. Resolve that the clerk be instructed to inform the President of the United States that the House of Representatives has elected Mike Johnson, a representative from the state of Louisiana, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Without objection, the resolution is agreed to, and the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Thank you. All right. The chair would take this occasion to note that the speaker's announced policies with respect to particular aspects of the legislative process placed in the record on January 9, 2023 will continue in effect for the remainder of the 118th Congress. The chair announces that the speaker has delivered to the clerk a letter dated October 25th, 2023, listing members in the order in which each shall act as Speaker pro tempore under Clause 8B3 of Rule 1. The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives. I hereby designate Representative Steve Scalise to exercise any authority regarding assembly, reassembly, convening, or reconvening of the House pursuant to House Concurrent Resolution 1, Clause 12 of Rule 1, and any concurrent resolution of the concurrent Congress as may contemplate my designation of members to exercise similar authority. In the event of the death or inability of that designee, the alternate members of the House listed in the letter bearing this date that I have placed with the clerk are designated in turn for the same purpose. Signed sincerely, Mike Johnson, Speaker. I hereby appoint the Honorable Patrick McHenry, Honorable Adrian Smith, the Honorable Andy Harris, the Honorable Guy Reschenthaler, the Honorable Rob Whitman, the Honorable Ben Klein, the Honorable Richard Hudson, and the Honorable John Joyce to act as Speaker pro tempore to sign and roll bills and joint resolutions through the remainder of the 118th Congress. Signed sincerely, Mike Johnson, Speaker.
Okay.
Without
So that's
objection, the
his
appointments are
group.
approved, and the House will be in recess subject to a call of chair pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1. We'll be back soon. Yep, there we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that is the process. That is the procedure. It is over. We have a speaker. As you heard, and as it takes a lot to make these predictions, a ton to make these predictions. But my prediction that their first bill under consideration would be aid to Israel is exactly what he said in his speech. So, do I think we're going to get any groundbreaking dissent from Norm with Mike Johnson? No. Do I think he's just tangentially related enough to America First to that we maybe win one or two of those that we generally wouldn't with a speaker like Kevin McCarthy? Potentially. I think it was undoubtedly a compromise. It was the people are tired of it, and Congress was getting fatigued. And I think there were some deals going on that said, well, if it's not this guy, then we're going to start looking at Jeffries. And I think it was scary for some of the members. I wish they would have. I wish they would have done it, because then you're not getting reelected. As a Republican voting for a Democrat speaker. And I think his speech was a bunch of word salad like any other politician. He didn't say anything groundbreaking there. Everything we kind of expected. So that was kind of the same. Smells like boiled bologna. Probably. Depends in Aspercream too, because there's a lot of old folk in there. But so that is the process. We have a speaker. It was unanimous on the side of the Republicans, which is good to see. Some consensus and unanimous. But again, who is he? He's only been a member of Congress for 6 years, which should be an eternity, but it isn't. When you have people like Pelosi have been there for decades. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what comes of this and what transpires. Probably know where the Democrats are going to go if they regain control and power. They've been pretty clear that they're going to vote for Jeffries. They'll probably continue to do so because they tend to stick together a hell of a lot better than we do. Yeah. The one plea that I'll always make, he talks about transparency and being able to explain it to the American people, and we have the same song and dance all the time from all our politicians. I would welcome any of the 535 members of Congress to have a conversation with us right here. They wouldn't. They never would. They're afraid of it. I'm not. I'll have a conversation with any of them. They're going to be hard questions, and I'm not going to take political bullshit speak. So they'll never do it. But it is an open invitation. All 535 members, any damn time you want, we'll have a discussion right here. You want to be open? You want to be transparent? You want to be honest? Let's put it to the test. Not a single one of you would take me up on that. I'm not CNN and you can't pre-screen your questions and have all that and blah, blah, blah. But if you want it, it's here. So, but ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for me today. I don't think I'm going to be back this evening. We'll see. We'll see what transpires because every time I say that, something happens. But I don't think I'm going to be back this evening. So, for a show because it's Wednesday and I generally take it off, and we have a family Halloween event this evening. So, there's a good degree of certainty that I won't be back for an evening show. And if I do, it will be later than normal, maybe a 9 o'clock start. So, but that just depends on what happens in the world with conflict. Because I was going to do a conflict update tonight. Was the plan. So, if that happens, it will probably be at 9. Keep your eyes out. But my 51% leaning right now is no, I'm not going to do a show tonight. So, oh, Comer. Ground invasion halted, awaiting U.S. soldiers to do it. The fingernail of a Z. 10,000 coins. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, honestly, they were waiting on Speaker. I think they were waiting on the authorization of military force. So that's what I'm saying. As soon as I say, yep, 100% no show, they'll vote to authorize military force and we'll be at war with 9 countries simultaneously. So that's why I'm leaving it open. I'll keep my eyes on the news. Thank you, as always, Comer, for the super. And thank you guys for hanging out with me and watching the process. Please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. And I will see you again very soon. Have a good day, y'all. Take care.